Hey everybody, this is Casey Magic Swell with the Muse Effect. So this video is going to be about the veil and what does the veil mean. So recap, if you watched my last live video, I've gone through a major life change. I've completely moved locations and have been through a really interesting transitional process. Left behind 10 years of life experience and relationship and animals and friends and family, and I'm now back here at my mom's property in West Virginia, and it's a surreal experience for me, and I'm learning to re-love everything all over again, all the stuff that I took for granted, all the things like the lightning bugs in the middle of the night, walking out here on the deck and being able to look in the field and see little stars flashing everywhere. So I've been working a lot. I actually got a really good job that I needed to help me in this transitional process because I haven't been taking on clients. And so I've been 40 hours a week, super busy, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. So I just got a shower. My hair is super fluffy. The wind is blowing. It's been hot all day. Also, my mom's dogs do bark a lot, as well as my own. So there's a bunch of noise. I apologize. So in recap, back to the video, we're going to talk a little bit about the veil. So what does the veil mean? Now, I didn't sit down and watch a bunch of YouTube videos to get an idea on everybody else's perspective. I've been using the phrase looking through the veil for quite some time now. I even recently, within the last few years, experienced my great aunt use the word the veil. She is a sweet, sweet woman, very religious and very conservative. So even hearing her reference someone that had passed on and them contacting her through the veil was such an enlightening experience for me, because these are things that I talk about on a daily basis, and to have family connect in that way and to open up in that way just made me feel a little bit more whole. So similar to the things that I've talked about in my astral projection videos, the veil for me is very broad, but there's also small versions of what I would consider to be the veil. In general, we perceive the veil as us here in physical reality, and then the soul realm, the spirit realm, the other side is through the veil. So we imagine it and we picture it like this curtain, and that it's keeping us from being able to completely see what's happening on the other side. Now, in a lot of my videos, I talk about body-soul oneness, and for me, that when I even write body-soul oneness, I put the little hyphen in there. So that's kind of, that hyphen is like the simplistic version of the veil, really. Body hyphen veil, soul oneness. So we have access, all of us has access to seeing through this perceived veil into the spirit realm. We tap into it in many different ways. When we're dreaming, we're all experiencing seeing through the veil. Psychic mediums obviously have more of this ability, this talent, to this gift to see through what is the perceived veil. Now, if you're looking for a scientific definition, as if it is something that is like mist and particles and atoms and molecules, you could go down the rabbit hole with that, and I inspire anyone to do such things to get an even more scientific definition of what the veil really means. But in this type of general perspective, it is the space in between that has kept us from being one more with that otherworldly experience, that spiritual realm, that soul realm. And for me, I really feel that conditioning that we have experienced as a race, as soul coming into human physical form, and how the world has evolved has created much more this veil type experience. So when people say that the veil is thinning, it has a lot to do with the evolutionary experience of the planet as a whole, is this planet within the galaxy, its consciousness as a whole, evolving to higher dimensions, going from what we've perceived as Earth being third dimension and us evolving into fourth dimension and then fifth dimension. And as such, as the consciousness of the planet evolves, we are a part of her. And as we naturally evolve, we're going to also experience this evolutionary process where that body soul oneness is becoming more developed, so to speak, and that veil is becoming less concentrated, less predominant. Spirits from the other side are reaching out more, as well as people are becoming more in tune with their gifts and their abilities through general awareness and holistic practices and conscious effort to expand and evolve themselves, that allows them to perceive this, or to get a different perception, to look through what is the perceived veil. As well, you'll hear some people and myself talk about the Fey realm, the fairy realm, and it is said that there is this mirror aspect. So we have this perceived veil as if it is a curtain or a cloud or a mist that generally separates physical reality from spiritual reality. Even within the Fey realm, that's also a part of that realm, tapping into spirit, but it's almost another dimension and plane of existence in itself on its own. And it's almost like looking through the other side of a mirror, like everything flipped and reversed. And I have been, within the last 3 to 5 years, have experienced more and more Fey creatures around people, more predominantly, have connected them. So not just tapping into loved ones on the other side, but tapping into the energies of the earth and elementals and Fey beings that people have collected with them, that are attached to their soul essence and their auric fields, that gather and congregate or are a part of different areas of their emotional body or spiritual body, and come out in different experiences. So I reference fairies a lot as a broad concept, but obviously there's sprites and brownies and elves and goblins and gnomes and trolls, and there's a whole spectrum there, and that's its own veil, but it's like looking through a mirror on the other side. As well, there's this veil that has to do with our telepathic communication, how we connect with people. An example, even the innocence of child dancing on stage, and they're all looking around to make sure that during their recital, during their routine, that they're all doing the same moves, same steps, and the same routine, and one person's up like this and the other person's up like that, and they're consciously connecting with each other without words what needs to be done. It's like this process that takes place with memorizing things and training your brain, early phases of telepathic communication in that way. Things like that in that art realm or any type of study early on is really helping a different type of conditioning, not conditioning our souls and our human experience away from not being able to have these connections with fairies or be more in tune with our telepathic abilities, or to sense and feel spirit energy around us and within the earth and from people. That early age, it's a different type of conditioning that is really training the mind to still accept it in a natural way, in a natural form. So there's many different versions of what I perceive this veil to be, things that it's like a wall that has been put up that has separated us from having that intimate connection with our soul essence, and how people are constantly going on these soul seeking journeys to find themselves, when really you're always there within yourself, above yourself, below yourself, around yourself, and in many planes and dimensions and existences. But a part of finding and seeking out those other versions of yourself is that awareness that takes step in being able to perceive through this veil. So like I said before, the astral projection videos, it's very broad, yet there are specific things that come about that are mini versions of the veil that make up the big veil. Different walls, even blocks we have about ourselves, stories that we have about ourselves, the veils that we put over our faces, the different faces that we show people, the different versions of ourselves, with whether family or friends, or even with yourself. You go through different waves of like, who am I now in this moment, and who am I going to be 5 minutes from now based on my thought patterns and how I'm reacting. And we're so sensitive to the outside world. Becoming aware and having the concept of the veil thinning also applies to our consciousness evolving, where if you kind of picture, an example for me would be the tarot card, the Tower. The Tower is this concept that there's this world that is built in your mind and in your reality, these stories. And the moment that you start to shake that up, whether by choice or because the universe is pushing you in that direction, even if you're out of flow, if change is meant to happen, it's going to happen. So if it's pushing you in that direction, the tower falls around you. Like, things need to be recreated, re-established with new beginnings, new foundations, and new roots. And a part of that is breaking down that veil and seeing that concept as the veil thinning. So the moment you're readdressing the structures that you have formed and the stories that you have established, the belief systems that you have about yourself, get you closer and closer to the broad spectrum of what the veil is, to being able to tap in even more intimately and directly to spirit energy and the spirit realm as a whole. So with that being said, and without going too far down the rabbit hole, even though I really enjoy it, we have this broad spectrum of the veil, and we have little pieces of the veil, things that have been separated by different forms of conditioning over an expansive amount of time. And leaving you with one more thought process, something that even Edgar Cayce, the sleeping psychic, has talked about, and can research him online and his university on the coast in Virginia. When he talks about the morning stars and the beginning essence of soul coming into the earth as a consciousness, as its own experience, that Lemuria is our souls as ghosts walking around on the planet, having a spiritual experience without physical form, but still being here. As Earth evolved, so did we evolve. And then Atlantis is proclaimed experience that the soul finally pushed itself into physical form, into physical reality of what was already here on Earth. So as Earth evolved, we evolved, and therefore we get the mythology around mermaids, centaurs, and all the creatures that have been talked about for centuries, and things that our souls are naturally connected to when it comes to the sci-fi realm. But that we had Lemuria, soul experience before physical form here on Earth, and that Atlantis, we were pushed in and evolved and recreated with physical form. And then after Atlantis, it became even more evolved, more defined. And I could go down the rabbit hole with the Anunnaki and the Greys and a whole extraterrestrial experience, and how and why, and possible hybridizations, which is probably better left for another video. but it's a good concept to think about in the sense of origins and how that veil has been created. That at one point in time, the veil for us, we were spirits here, and that veil was being able to perceive into physical reality. And then the physical reality happened, and then we had this oneness for some time with body and soul. And then another veil created where we became blocked from seeing more into the soul, into that spirit. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'm hoping that I can upload this fairly soon and successfully.